You're listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
File access granted.
Welcome, all you believers, idealists, skeptics, and all those who question the universe around them. I'm Ty.
And I'm Bailey.
And Bailey Frost.
Yeah, I am, yes.
On Cult Talk Conspiracy.
The very first episode is...
Bailey's off the market officially now.
I am an honest woman. Ben and I are no longer living in sin. we got married 2 days ago, May 26th, Memorial Day weekend. We have been together 5 years, and we're engaged for 2.
Wow.
So we're finally Mr. and Mrs. So I told him it's either me or the dirt. So he's got those options. So he's great. But yes, my new name is now Bailey M. Frost. Yes, the M is for Mosley. I kept my maiden name.
Okay.
But yeah, very exciting. Very, very exciting.
Why might I ask, why did you submit to the patriarchy and make him take your name?
So this is actually a really big conversation because I thought about not taking Frost.
Really?
I really did. Yeah, I really did. Because I was like, I worked so hard to, make Bailey Mosley like a name for myself, especially in my business and in my career. But then it was like for me, there's so much honor in a name, and it kind of goes back to like how theatrical I think sometimes it's like I'm honored to not only be a Mosley, but the Frost family is very honorable as well. They've done so much community service and just worked for people, and they're good people. So it was like when it came for me, I was like, yeah, I want to be a Frost. Those are good, honorable people that I want to be a part of. So
yeah, the name is very important. I feel like in any sense, married or not. I know people who are like divorced and keep their like previous name. Just
my mother.
For the sake of business, just for the sake of business.
Oh, my mom didn't do it for the sake of business. I think she did it because it was easier than getting everything changed.
Yeah, I know people that have been divorced. And they keep the previous last name just because like. They're realtors or whatever it may be, and it's just like I don't want to confuse people. That's weird to me. I don't know. That's my opinion.
So even like
when I'm done, I'm done. I'm that kind of person.
Oh yeah, no, and like when I made all of like my marketing and everything, when I was still Bailey Mosley, like it was all done with the intention that in a couple years I was going to become Bailey Frost. So like. A lot of my emails and a lot of my social media only has Bailey on it instead of my last name. So of course I've had to get, new business cards and, new rack cards and all that good stuff. So my brokerage loves me.
You're like Zendaya.
Really? Yeah. I think my Twitter name or my X name because I never get on it is like the Realtor Bailey or the Real Bailey Tour or something like that. Like just something.
I can't even tell you what my X name is. I haven't been on that
no
in
idea.
so damn long.
I literally made it just for my real estate business. So I have no idea what it is. If you guys find it, let me know what the name is. But what are we talking about today, Ty, other than my wonderful wedding?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Lights. One of the most intriguing and I think impactful events in all of ufology. I think it's right up there with things like Roswell, Kenneth Arnold. I think you can definitely put the Phoenix Lights up there in that top tier of UFO experiences that really impacted the entire culture. So I'm surprised. I've said this a couple times. I'm surprised that the things we still have left to talk about on Cult Talk Conspiracy that weren't hit in the early in the first year.
Yeah,
and Phoenix Lights is definitely one I think for any conspiracy podcast or UFO based podcast, you got to eventually talk about the Phoenix Lights.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're insane.
I would have been 6 years old when this happened, so obviously I wouldn't have any real memory of it anyways. But I don't remember like hearing about the Phoenix Lights until I was like well into like adulthood, or not adulthood, but probably my teenage years.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember ever hearing about it when I was a kid, but I'm sure, at 6 years old, I definitely wasn't like interested in the news or whatever was going on or where it would have been reported. And, I lived in Ohio anyway, so, I wasn't queued up with local Arizona news.
Yeah, no.
I don't remember hearing about it until I was like, as a teenager.
Yeah.
But ever since then, it's always fascinated me.
Really?
It's just a really cool event that just has so much mystery and questions around it.
Yeah, you were actually the person that told me about the Phoenix Lights. I think we actually have it on recording from like Roswell or something.
Okay. Wow, early. First episode.
Yeah. So, and then like I looked at it and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like this is not what do they call it? Stargate or the Elon Musk satellites? Starlink. Like this is not Starlink. What is this?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see definitely like Starlink does kind of have like a similar shape to Phoenix, but obviously it wasn't around in 97 for sure. So
nowhere close.
But I could see where like the Starlink would kind of ring similarities with the Phoenix Lights, and we're going to talk about the shape and the movement and all that stuff here in the episode. But yeah, I could definitely see that.
I mean, it's got that same pattern.
Go check out Cult Talk Net on Instagram or YouTube and see Bailey's first time seeing Starlink.
It was great. It was wonderful.
It's documented.
It is documented. And it was a joyous occasion, y'all.
Tell you what, Essie, go ahead and put it right here.
Yeah. I can't get a good shot of it.
I got a pretty clear video of it on my phone. Jesus fucking Christ.
Here we go. You can kind of see him moving.
1, 2, 3, 4,
y'all
5,
missed them. There was
7, 8, 9,
Fuck.
10.
There was more than that.
And they're all coming from that bright one, aren't they?
Oh
Are those
my
drones?
God.
I can't get it on video.
Oh my God.
Dude, there's literally a whole fucking massive line. They just kept coming.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
There's absolutely no need for you to go down there and cause a ruckus.
Dude, they're
Those have
moving.
to be drones, right?
At this time of
Wait a
night?
minute. Wait, and then are they going out?
They're going up. They're going straight up.
No, they're going that way.
And then they're fading away.
Yeah, because that's why. Yeah, because they're going up.
They are?
They're going that way, but up. They're at like an angle. Oh, she got.
Fuck.
Oh my God, that's the last two.
All right, Essie, put it.
Just the audio.
Just the audio.
The audio is really all you need.
Yeah, the audio is all you need. You can't see shit on that damn thing. Since
I
miles away, but
I just loved our neighbors and our neighbors and us because we were all like, we are sober. Like we are all sober in seeing this.
All right. Well, Bailey, you ready to go ahead and talk about file 043?
Yes.
This is Night of the Lights, the Phoenix incident. So, Bailey, you've known about the Phoenix Lights only for a couple of years now.
Yeah,
a year or so,
small
right? So
time.
it's not something. Have you done much investigating into it? Without giving too much away?
Not a whole lot. I've seen the photos and I've read some of the articles, but not a super like deep dive. I basically just looked at like what it is. But as far as like it impacted the people, I kind of just assumed it would be like the same thing as like Roswell or, Point Pleasant where it was like mass hysteria. But I don't know. I'm excited to find out more today.
Yeah. So, and we're going to run through it all. We're going to talk about the events as they unfolded, everything that happened afterwards, and there's also like some special stuff we'll talk about at the end that I really wanted to touch on. But so on the night of March 13th, 1997, the skies over Phoenix, Arizona were alight with more than just stars. An extraordinary event that would later be known as the Phoenix Lights. So beginning around 7 o'clock p.m., thousands of people over a span of 300 miles. That's the crazy thing too. I've seen like I used to live when I was a kid. Lived very near to a military, like an Air Force base.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like live on an Air Force base, obviously, but near one. And I know like you'd look up at night and you would see like military exercises and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
and you would just see them above you. Like you would see them exercising. You see the lights blinking, doing whatever they do up there. I remember as a kid, like for a long time, having to like come to terms with that because you immediately look up and you see lights in the sky, and you're like, it's a fucking UFO. And I remember my dad like one time like freaking out about it, because we saw this stuff happening above us, and to our at least what we were told is just a military exercise. But I remember having to come to terms with that not everything in the sky is UFOs. But over 300 miles is a staggering distance for something to be witnessed and reported on.
That's you can't deny that. That's that's crazy.
Absolutely. From the Nevada state line through Phoenix, Arizona, to the edge of Tucson, thousands were captivated by a series of incredible lights crossing the night sky. I'm gonna say thousands. That's the presumed number.
Oh,
I tried to find we could find I tried to find like a exact number of how many people actually called in or reported, but it's very skewed, as some people came late, the next day and reported it, or the night of, and it's very, very skewed to find the exact number. But it's presumed that there were thousands of people that were contacting neighbors and authorities and things like that, of like, hey, there's this thing above us that doesn't look like it should be there.
Oh yeah, I would say that's I would say that is a smart guess that it was probably thousands, because there's probably people who saw it that would never tell. That would be like, nope, I know I saw this thing, but it's like that's my story,
Yeah, and over 300 miles. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think it's thousands.
Unless you're in Antarctica, there's no fucking way.
A V-shaped formation of lights, believed to be the outline of a massive, unseen craft, silently glided overhead, moving southward. This is the immediate image that most associate with the phenomenon. But there was actually more to it. So when most people think of the Phoenix lights, they of course get that iconic V-shaped light formation is the immediate thing that pops in their head. If they've seen the pictures, if they've seen the video, that's what they're going to associate with it. But you see, at the same time, this mystifying V shape stretched itself over 2 states. It found itself sharing airspace over Phoenix with a dozen stationary lights of unknown origin. This is the more little known phenomena that people don't really talk about, because everyone's so fascinated by the V shape, is that at the same time this was occurring, there were more lights in the sky that no one knew where the fuck they were coming from over Phoenix, which I think is why the event itself is, because we talked about it went from Nevada, Phoenix, and Tucson. And I think that's why it has that nomenclature of the Phoenix lights, because at this time there was so much activity in the sky over Phoenix in particular. These additional lights hovering over the Valley of the Sun would really fuel interest by local broadcast news and be a big part of why the event is synonymous with Phoenix. One of the obvious elements that really sets this event apart and cements its place and as a prolific UFO sighting in history is the sheer scale. Hundreds, thousands of eyewitnesses of varying backgrounds, from ordinary citizens to pilots to military personnel to police officers, all offering remarkably consistent descriptions. Of course, this led to widespread coverage from various media outlets. And various explanations have been offered in the wake over the years, from military exercises to flares, but always leaving more questions than answers. Which we will be taking a look at as well in this episode. We'll look at some of the suggested, origin of these lights. And we'll kind of discuss whether or not they're believable or what we think of those.
It's aliens. I'm going to tell you right now, it's aliens.
That's the most common one. But first, I want to take a look at the events as they unfolded. The earliest report came around 6:55 p.m. from Henderson, Nevada, by an amateur pilot. Now, I want you to remember that. Henderson, Nevada, by an amateur pilot. The first report, 6:55 p.m. Keep that in your brains.
Okay.
Now, this is just 16 miles south of Las Vegas. where residents reported the now iconic boomerang of lights drifting southward. And I use that term too, drifting, and we'll talk more about why that I feel is a good descriptor for how it was moving. From what I could find, it seems to have simply appeared out of nowhere as the sun began to set. Now, I have a theory on this. So, the sun sets, all of a sudden, people look up and see these lights.
Mm-hmm.
What if it was there the whole time?
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This thing may have been like just cruising across the United States, or coming down from Canada, or wherever throughout the day, above everyone's heads, just unknowing and cloaked by the sunlight.
Yeah.
And then as the sun sets, you start to see these lights that illuminate in the darkness, and it becomes more visible. I mean, that's an idea I've always kind of thought, is because it really does appear out of nowhere. There's no explanation as to, someone's seen a flash and it came out, or it was coming from this. It's just this amateur pilot at 6:55 p.m. looked up at Henderson, Nevada, saw it, and that sparked everyone else looking up and realizing this thing was there. And also, you got to think too, light pollution. This is 16 miles south of Las Vegas. If this thing was over Las Vegas, you would never see it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, you can see Las Vegas on a satellite in space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ooh, that's a crazy thought.
Yeah, so this thing could have been cloaked by the sunlight for the day, for all we know. Maybe longer, I don't know. But it wasn't noticed. I mean, if you think, if this thing's just drifting southward, it could be coming from Antarctica, it could be coming from Alaska, crossing the ocean. No one's going to look up and fucking see this thing at night. It could have been just drifting itself throughout the day, and then just, finally crossed into an area with, just enough visibility to where it was noticed. And that kind of sparked everyone else looking up and seeing it. Just a personal theory of mine. Kind of goes back to that movie Signs.
Yeah.
Where they talk about how the lights were there at night. During the day they can't be seen, but that bird flies in and you find out they're still there.
They're still there. Yeah.
Love that fucking movie.
That's we need to do
that
it
on VHS.
Did
you
really?
That on VHS. Yeah, we should do that. We should do a
Cult
I want
Talk
to do a
review.
VHS movie night. I really do. When I get my new place, go have a bigger space. That's like one of the main reasons I want to have a bigger space, be able to have people over and shit.
Aww.
We'll have to do a VHS movie night. So
we really will, because I haven't seen a VHS in forever.
Oh, it's the best way to watch it. Movies were meant to be seen in 420.
420. I think the creators of Dune Part 2 would disagree with you. And their fucking popcorn thing.
Don't get me started on Dune 2. That is the I might be contentious. People might be saying I'm overthinking there, but the best movie of all time.
Aww,
I'll say it.
Awesome.
I'll put my foot in the ground. The best movie of all time.
It's fucking
the pacing,
cool, man.
the dialogue, the effects. I could watch that movie for 5 hours.
Side note though, Dune, this is not the apocalypse you guys want. I will tell you guys right now, because here's the thing. Warhammer, from Cult of Lore was basically took chunks out of Dune. So it's if you want the Dune apocalypse, you guys should go over and listen to Cult of Lore and find out what kind of bullshit y'all are in for. Because Hunger Games is way better, guys. I promise. Anyway, I'm done now.
So as the object listed through the night, eyewitness reports followed, pretty much creating, if you took a map, it's really cool. I've seen people do it online. If you take a map of Nevada and Arizona, you can kind of this call came in, you put a little pin there. You can pinpoint the exact route of the craft. I mean, it's really cool. So it's as it was listing, people just kind of looked up and started seeing it and were calling in. It's you can see a really cool trajectory of the exact movement of the Phoenix lights.
That's actually really cool. It kind of reminds me of the Nord Santa tracker to dumb it completely down. That's what that reminds me of.
Yeah. At 7:15, it crossed in Arizona. First reported over Prescott Valley, 100 miles north of Phoenix. Reports rolled in of a black V-shaped craft larger than several football fields, visible by its 7 bright light outline. So that gives you an idea. I chose football fields because
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good way for people to visualize the size of something.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's familiar with the size of a football field.
That's
Several football fields.
Nope.
Not a football field, not a couple football fields.
Nope.
Several football fields.
I'm
sheer
going.
size of this fucking thing.
I'm going into nature and I'm going to start praying to the gods. God, nope. If I looked up and saw that, the end is nigh.
Continuing its trajectory south at 8 p.m., thousands of Phoenix residents. I was going to try to pronounce the Phoenix nomenclature for their name. The Phoenicians, I think is what it is.
The Phoenicians.
Phoenicians, baby. Phoenix residents. I'll just.
Yep, that's fine. Sorry, guys.
Phoenicians sounds like like an alien race, doesn't it?
It really does.
Kind of ancient race, the Phoenicians.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But Phoenix residents looked up to see the formation over the valley, igniting a flurry of 911 calls. An enormous, silent series of uniform lights. The descriptions given by eyewitnesses lined up exactly. Now this is something that I never really heard of, and I started looking into it a little more. As people were seeing these lights, they were calling in, reporting that these things were crossing the sky. But it was very interesting because people who were actually directly underneath of, like, as it crossed over, were reporting feeling a change in air pressures that passed over.
Oh no!
Like they were actually physically being affected as this thing was coming over. They could feel the pressure change as this gigantic craft crossed over them.
See, that's already no. I'm sorry. Go ahead. That's
go
terrifying.
ahead.
That is like terrifying because like that's like is Arizona like close to New Mexico? I don't know my states, guys. I'm sorry. It's too early in the day. I can't do it. But anyway, like I say that to say like, so my dad lived in New Mexico for a time and he actually got like altitude sickness from where like the air pressure is like so much different from like the east to the west. So like to think of like, assuming that they have that same like altitude, like close there into where New Mexico is, like that's fucking scary to like immediately just start going through that because like it was days of altitude sickness for my dad. So like, oh god, I can only imagine how horrible those people must have felt.
Oh man, yeah, no doubt. I know when I went to Bruce Fest back in 2022, Eric and Mike and I went out there at the Stanley Hotel, and that was in Colorado. And it didn't affect me much. I didn't have really any effects, but I know Michael and Eric were like having a really hard time out there breathing and stuff.
Yeah.
When we first got there, I was walking around. People were like had these cans. I thought people were just walking around doing nitrous. So I was like, these people like, is Colorado like that cool of a state where people are just walking around doing whippets all day? Like I was like, man, like I knew like weed was legal out there. I was like, is it just people are walking around just in public doing whippets?
They're doing whatever they got to do out there. Listen,
I was very confused. I went to a grocery store and I seen it was like these cans of air people were buying.
Oh my god!
And you would literally see people walk around. They would have these cans. They would have to take a hit of to fight the altitude. And we bought Eric one of those. So Eric was having a really hard time because of his asthma. But yeah, when I first got there, I was like confused as hell. I was like, people were just walking around with these
cans of air.
I thought it was just nitrous oxide. People were just fucking doing whippets all day.
Gee whiz.
But yeah, I know like people do have hard time out there.
Mm-hmm. To update, it goes New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, like all in like a C shape going up. So just to update. But yeah, no. They're a different breed out there, Maine. Like just cans of air. Just that's a whole nother kind of survivalist kind of mode when you got to buy cans of air to make yourself feel better. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I know.
They had them like at all the gas stations. They had like all the gas stations and grocery stores went to just had these little display cases where you just buy these cans of air.
That's interesting. I want to look at the medical science behind that later on. Like, I can't digress into that right now. But
and some people who were directly underneath it, they reported something else. They reported actually feeling like this sense of serene or like this very ominous feeling come over them as this thing crossed. It was kind of differing. Some people just felt very relaxed, and other people felt this like dread that there was something bad was going to happen. It was very interesting. You had these different feelings that people were getting as this thing crossed over.
That kind of reminds me of like, so when I worked in the hospital, we would have people like who were like getting ready to code, like either have like this extreme sense of doom or have like an extreme sense of peace. The doom is far more common from what I saw. So I wonder if that was like instinct taking over. That was like, hey, something that might end your life is getting ready to happen. And then like, because we have like
I
that
bet it was
primal,
terrifying.
yeah, we have like that primal instinct in us. So yeah.
I guarantee it was terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
Imagine you're just like in your yard or something. This big ass fucking craft crosses over. I mean, no matter how high up it is. I mean,
no.
Which the Phoenix Lights did appear to be pretty low as far as aircraft goes.
No.
But I mean, it like that would be terrifying regardless. As the initial formation exited the valley, just southward of Phoenix, just southwest of Phoenix, the second event unfolded above the Australian mountains. Holding stationary in a descending arc above the range, these lights were distinctly different from the more popular and commonly associated lights over Phoenix. That V shape. They were totally the second event was totally different than that V shape that we associate with the Phoenix lights. These lights held for several minutes, long enough for eyewitnesses to capture video before they simply just disappeared.
Oh no.
These lights were actually addressed by the Air Force after being pressed by the public. They asserted that the stationary lights above the Australian mountains were actually flares that had been dropped by A-10 warthogs during a training exercise. Of course, as is the case anytime the military or government makes an attempt to explain away a mysterious event, this did not satisfy. Now, I do have my opinions on this event because the way it's described, personally, I feel like flares is probably a probable explanation. I've seen flares, they're dropped, and they do kind of appear that way. It's descending arc down.
Yeah.
They hold for several minutes. Flares are meant to be illuminated for several minutes so you can see them, and then they just kind of flutter out and they die out as they're descending. Not saying that's why I believe it is, but I do feel like that is probably a good explanation for what they were. If there was a natural or I guess a earthly explanation for those lights in particular, that probably would make sense. Why there's an A-10 warthog in the sky at the same time there's this giant craft moving across the sky. I think it'd probably be more than just a training exercise, but
yeah, especially flying that close to the ground as well in a in residential public area, like highly populated.
Yes,
that's concerning. Like I would have questions then for the Air Force, like why were they there then? If it's a training exercise, why were you training that close to civilians?
Right. I mean, they probably did above the mountains and stuff. I mean, like I said, I had people like Air Force trained over my house. I mean,
oh my god,
it's I mean, that's something I grew up with is sonic booms and lights in the sky, all that stuff. I mean, that's probably not as questionable, but I think the more the thing I would question more is that there's this giant thing crossing the sky that people are reporting, and there's there's aircraft in the sky, military aircraft in the sky at the same time. So
yeah.
Very interesting to think. What was the correlation here with that? Now, the military would also attempt to explain away the first craft as an A-10 Thunderbolt that was en route to the David Monthan Air Force Base located in Tucson. Obviously, taking into account all of the reports, this makes no sense, as the V-shaped craft didn't have any characteristics of conventional aircraft. These explanations left a lot to be desired, of course. Other theories tried to explain the lights. One of the theories was atmospheric conditions on the night of March 13th could have contributed to unusual visual phenomena. This could include optical illusions created by temperature inversions, where layers of warm air trap cooler air near the ground, potentially bending light over distances, creating mirages. Do you buy that?
No. No. No.
I don't
No.
think either. That's kind of the same phenomena I believe that like desert mirages
That's
are
that's the exact
explained as. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking on this too, I think we've mentioned it at one point back in one of the dimensional episodes we did last year. There was like the floating city phenomenon that was photographed over China back in
Yes.
2015.
Yeah, and they thought it was because it was so like high up in the sky. They were like, yeah, it's not real. Yeah, you're seeing
they
shit.
they explained it as like some weird natural phenomena that never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
That was proposed to be a similar effect as what people probably could claim that the Phoenix Lights were, but I don't think that holds any weight at all.
No.
What was seen in China, I mean, I think it's fascinating. This legitimate city in the sky that was photographed, but it was regardless, it was stationary. This thing is moving across 300 miles.
That's terrifying.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that for that to be some sort of mirage or optical illusion caused by some natural event, I just don't see that as being possible. I'd have to see like some really hard science on that to be able to buy that.
Right.
Because it just sounds like you're reaching for explanations.
Yeah, that one sounds like, let me get in the barrel or stick my hand down in the barrel and see what I can come up with at that point. Because like, I get it. It can be a rare phenomenon and like those two things line up, but it's like, come on, man. Like, no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We're talking about bending lights, and like I'm pretty sure there's some physics that get involved in that, and it's like
moving
no.
across the night sky, causing air pressure changes. I just don't see it.
No, yeah, no, and
Now,
there's no like ground or like air like effects or anything like that. Like no one took
over people's heads.
Yeah,
you were able to track this thing, watch it move across the sky.
Yeah. And like there's nothing like in soil tests or air tests or water tests or anything like that point to something like that being, a rare phenomenon. I don't know. I feel like there would be more evidence if it was a naturally occurring phenomenon is what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm. Now, there were also some theories that the whole event could have been the result of mass hysteria, focusing on the psychological and social aspects of the sighting. Now, we've kind of touched on that as a theory for a lot of things. We talk about in the Men in Black episodes we've done about the telephone game effect, where someone sees a man in a suit, and next person's like, oh, they saw a man in black. Telephone game type things, but this was photographed, videotaped.
Yeah.
So I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious what we're seeing here is it's factual. People like these reports line up exactly amongst numerous people who saw this thing. They all line up.
They all got receipts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they've all got those receipts.
Now, they suggested that possibly the influence of media coverage contributed to the widespread reports. Maybe, this theory holds that maybe not as many people actually saw it as reported they saw it. Maybe they were just, piggybacking off the small number of people who did claim to see it. You might have a couple dozen people that saw it, but through media coverage and, just this psychological effect, all of a sudden thousands of people see it because, I think I saw that in the sky too. I saw something in the sky. Maybe I think I did see something, and they report it, and there you go. But again, there's like a number of different people who saw this.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like there would have had to been like a lot of communication between everyone.
Yes, because there were numerous reports coming in across the state prior to any media coverage.
Yeah. And this is at a time, like this is 1997. Like we don't have social media at this time.
Yes.
Like we don't have like, as instant messaging as we do now. Like, I mean, yeah, there was texting, but like it was not, like email was more popular than texting at that point. So,
yes,
everything is the communication.
And not many people had that option either.
Right. Exactly. So the communication is not as instantaneous as, I don't know. That's why I don't buy, I feed less into they saw it and I think I saw that too. I don't know. That's my opinion on that. I don't know.
Yeah, because it would have had to have been literally like all these people across state like calling each other as it was
Yeah,
happening.
exactly. It's like the phone lines would have been gone. Like you would have got a busy tone for hours.
Now, the obvious theory most drew from the event was that it was extraterrestrial.
It's aliens.
The sheer size observed and the silent movement seemed to point to some form of advanced propulsion technology, not of this Earth. Advanced technology also implies intelligent life, possibly some, alien craft observing us, watching us, above in the skies above. That same old theory that people have had for decades, that there are these advanced crafts. Now, thankfully, we live in 2024 where that's actually something that most people can agree is a very likely possibility.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
1997, it was still a very fringe thing of like these UFO people.
Them tinfoil hats. Or actually, I don't think we had tinfoil hats quite yet. I think we were a couple years off from those.
This is widely accepted as the truth behind the Phoenix Lights. And this would basically be accepted from the initial jump in reports. I mean, it's strange lights in the night sky. It's easy to draw that conclusion because to me, it just seems so obvious. It's like, but I mean, that's
Right.
the way I think. I see that and I think, oh, that's aliens. But then, of course, I talked about as a child, I had to come to terms with not all lights in the sky are UFOs. But this event, I feel like rings true to that. This more than likely was something of extraterrestrial origin. Or, the other proposed theories are that could be some sort of top secret military craft that was being tested. That's another widely accepted theory, that maybe it wasn't UFO, but maybe it was something that the military don't want to admit to because it's not an official craft. Which, looking at what we're talking about, you mentioned it's Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico. New Mexico, a lot of weird stuff happens in New Mexico.
Yeah. That's because of the Los Alamos power plant is one of the biggest power plants in the United States.
Yeah, there's a couple other key points out there as well. So, I mean, that's also a theory that maybe this wasn't a UFO at all. Well, obviously UFO. Maybe it wasn't an extraterrestrial, but some sort of advanced military craft.
Yeah.
And that's why the government has not really owned up to it, because, top secret. Maybe people weren't supposed to look up and see it.
Or maybe they were gauging reactions.
They very could be. That could be it. Something else, thinking about this, we talked about over Phoenix, you have the two events that happened. The widely reported one, obviously is the V-shaped lights. The second one is the lights over Australia mountains. I read somewhere online, people kind of mentioned that maybe the Australia mountain lights were trying to distract from the V-shaped. Maybe it was a failed attempt to distract people from this V-shaped thing. Like, oh wait, no, look over here. We have there's these things going on. But I think by that point, the V-shaped craft had already captured the attention of everyone.
Yeah.
As being this very odd thing that needed attention.
Yeah. 7 football fields worth of craft. Several football fields worth of craft is up in the sky, very low. Yeah, that's going to take some attention away.
Is 7 what you think of when you think of several?
No, I thought you said 7. I think of like 3 or more with several.
Okay, I watched. There was a very interesting conversation on the latest season of Survivor.
Oh.
Where a guy presumed that several meant 7, and he was incorrect.
The words sound familiar.
I think that's what his argument was, is that they're basically the same words. So I don't think so. The immediate aftermath saw a surge of media coverage across television, newspaper, and radio, both locally and on an international scale, leading many experts to weigh in and give their theories. The attention not only amplified the significance of the sighting, but had a huge hand in shaping public perception. For many in the community, the widespread coverage validated their experience, making them feel part of a collective witnessing of something extraordinary. Now, that feeling wouldn't last long, however. At the height of the frenzy of speculation left in the wake of the event, Second-term governor of Arizona, Republican Fife Symington, called a press conference to address the ongoing situation. It was here at the televised conference he claimed to have located and obtained the party responsible for the sightings. The media prepared their cameras, and to the shock of the audience, he called for police to bring forth a stereotypical gray alien handcuffed, looking very sorry.
Oh my God.
It was obviously an aide in costume to make light of the concerns of the people of Arizona.
Wow.
Immediately dashing any goodwill that people felt, anyone who thought that they were being validated, that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Republican Senator Fife Symington decided to make it all into a joke. And there were people that were legitimately concerned about this. Like, it wasn't a bunch of crazy people like, oh my God, it's UFOs. It's awesome. There were people that were legitimately concerned about this because of what they saw, what they felt. This wasn't a joke to them.
Dude,
They wanted answers. They wanted answers.
Like, a lot of people still considered 97 to be still fresh out of the Cold War. Like,
Yes.
that is, like, that's the legit concern. And, like, that's something that, like, I keep thinking about in the back of my mind is, like, what if this had been, like, an attack of some sort? Because, like, you get the airspace, I mean, you're done. Like, I mean, there's a reason the high ground in a battle is the most valuable ground to get. So it's
Yes.
like, that pissed me off. I'm sorry. That made me hot. I'm like,
Yeah,
really? Really?
It's wild. You can find the video on YouTube. It's wild. It's so demeaning.
It's bullshit.
Now, this obviously was not received well at all.
No.
Many felt what they experienced was made out to be a mockery.
Thank you.
Now, not the main reason, as he was indicted on 7 accounts of bank fraud in September of that year, but Governor Symington did not see a third term and actually was removed from office because, after the indictment, Arizona does not allow criminals to hold office. So he was forcibly removed from office just what, 6 months later.
Oh, wow.
After pulling this stunt, he was forcibly removed from office. So
For all people who
egg
were
on
like,
his
no.
face. Yeah,
No.
I don't think he would have gotten the votes. It was, anyways, if he would have tried for a third term, I don't think he would have got it because this was like universally seen as a very big misstep toward the people of Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Despite his less than supportive actions while in office, Symington would come forth in 2007, 20 years after the event, to state he believed the lights encountered in 1997 were not military craft, were not flares, but he believed that what was seen by the people of Arizona was, in fact, a UFO of extraterrestrial origin. He spoke about, he did an interview with CNN and basically talked about how he had looked at the pictures and the video in the years since, and he's a former pilot, and that he knows what aircraft are capable of and what they look like, and that this was not it, and that the military owes the people of Arizona an explanation.
Oh, yes.
Which I thought was a pretty big turn. It was like, why did it take you 20 years to come out and do this when you made such a joke out of it in the first place? You really kind of shot yourself in the foot right off the jump. But yeah, so he has came out and said that he thinks it's UFOs 20 years after the fact. Whether or not that's redemption, I don't know, because I think it was pretty shitty what he did in the first place. It's very demeaning.
Do you think it was him trying to make up for what he did? And trying to be like, I'm sorry.
I think so. Build some goodwill back. Too little, too late, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think the video is insane. You watch the video, it's so condescending. It's just awful. It's awful. No. Like, I think if you just came out and be like, hey, it wasn't a UFO, guys, it was a military thing, that'd been fine. But to go out, purchase a UFO, an alien costume, stick some poor aide in it, have him come out looking sad and in handcuffs, while everyone points and laughs, I think was just a terrible thing to do. And who on his PR team thought that was a good idea? I have no idea.
Oh my God.
Because like I said, people were legitimately concerned about this. At this point, speculation had kind of built to a point where people were just wanting answers of some kind, just to ease their mind.
I can't remember who had told me this. I think it was a mixture of like the great men in my life, but basically it's like you can tell a person's true character by how they react in a crisis. And yeah, that's that man's true character as far as I am
Yes.
concerned. I mean, maybe he's been redeemed since this has been like, close to 30 years ago. That would be fabulous. I'd love that. But like that was low class. That was low rent. Like that was bad.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Republican Senator Fife Symington was not and is not the only high-profile person to come forth and address the phenomena. You see, someone else that I think collectively as Cult Talk Net are far more familiar with came forth to give their eyewitness account of the events of the Phoenix Lights. Someone that I think Cult Talk Net is very fond of, that we love, that maybe we've dedicated a couple shows on, came forth to give their eyewitness account of the Phoenix Lights.
The cult of Russell.
Seriously.
Nothing else I can do. Just wait.
Ready the whole thing.
You know who that is?
The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kurt Russell. What did he and Miss Goldie Hawn see?
So, I told you earlier when we was talking about the initial reports. We mentioned that the first report of the Phoenix Lights was from an amateur pilot.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That pilot was Kurt Russell.
Oh my God.
Russell revealed in an interview with BBC, I have the interview here, let me pull it up. I was flying my son Oliver to go see his girlfriend, and we were on approach, Russell explained. I was 6 lights over the airport. I saw 6 lights over the airport in absolute uniform in a V shape. Oliver said to me, I was looking at him as I was coming in, we're maybe a half mile out, and Oliver said, "Pa, what are those lights?" Then I kind of came out of my reverie and I said, "I don't know what they are. Are we okay here?" "Yeah, I think I'm going to call it in." And I reported it. The very first report of the Phoenix Lights came from Kurt Russell
Oh my God.
as he approached a small airport in Henderson, Nevada.
That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. And now I love Kurt Russell even more. I didn't know my love could grow for this man. But like, to have your kid in the plane with you, oh my God. Ben and I were literally just talking this morning about like, travel excursions that have gone wrong with kids, being a part of that and like not knowing that like the parents have no idea what was going to happen. So like, oh my God. I want to talk to this man. I want to meet this man and talk about the Phoenix Lights.
We did it with Cult of Campbell. Maybe we'll do it with Cult of Russell.
Listen, I don't take responsibility for what happens when I see Kurt Russell. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm probably just going to word vomit "I love you" all over him, but it's fine.
Now, what makes the Phoenix Lights so endearing is the amount of area it covered, the number of reports that flooded in, all uniform, exact same information was divulged every time that a report was called in. Annually, on March 13th, news outlets in Arizona and Nevada revisit the events of 97. And as a whole, it's looked at in a very positive way. Many of the people who witnessed the lights found new passions and interest in the world of ufology, and even more accepted fields like aviation and astronomy. These people who saw this thing, it really impacted them on a deep level to where they wanted to know more about what was going on in the skies. They want to know more about what was going on above them that they maybe didn't pay attention to prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
The spectacle inspired art in all forms of media. In recent years, it's found itself the subject of a number of films. Those films, Phoenix Forgotten, the Phoenix Tapes 97, and I wanted to talk about one here while I have the time. Phoenix Incident. Now this, holding up here, my autographed Blu-ray from Mr. Keith Aram. Phoenix Incident came out in 2015. One of, and no hyperbole here, one of the best found footage films. I am not a found footage fan. One of my favorite subgenres of film is the mockumentary. You know what a mockumentary is, Bailey?
Oh, I love them.
I love mockumentaries. I think a well done mockumentary will keep me glued to my seat at all times. Phoenix Incident, super hard to find. For whatever reason, it's not available on streaming. It's not available on Prime to purchase. I'm lucky enough to have this Blu-ray. One of the best UFO films of all time. Just keeps you hooked. It's so cool. It's a film. It's not a documentary. It's a mockumentary. So it is fictitious, but it does give a lot of explanation and builds a really good lore around the Phoenix incident. Can't talk about it enough. It's like I said, it's hard to come by. I think maybe you can find the DVD on Prime, but it's out of print, so it's kind of expensive. eBay, you can find yourself a pretty good copy on eBay for a reasonable amount. But yeah, if you haven't seen 2015's Phoenix Incident, you're doing yourself a disservice, especially if you're interested in the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix Incident, Keith Aram, one of the best films on the subject that I've ever seen. So entertaining, so good. Again, I'll stop pressing it, but if you haven't seen Phoenix Incident, do yourself a favor, seek it out wherever you can find it and watch it. Such a good film. You won't be disappointed. So, the Phoenix Lights, widely considered to be the largest mass UFO sighting in history. Inspired an entire generation to look up and question what is out there. The 90s were a huge time. We talk a lot about the Cold War era, the 60s, 70s. The 90s were a huge time for ufology and just kind of questioning in general. People really started to question what was around them, what was above them, what was in the oceans, what was in the forests. The 90s were a very big time for that. You had the X-Files, you had Unsolved Mysteries, you had all these shows are coming out and really making people think about what was going on outside of their living rooms. And the Phoenix Lights really kicked that off in the mid 90s. Now, similar, although not nearly as impactful, events have been reported over Phoenix. February of 2007, there were some lights that people reported. The military claimed that these were flares dropped by an F-16. And also in April of 2008, people also reported lights similar to what they saw in 97. But a resident came forward who took responsibility, claiming that it was a prank, that he had tied flares to helium balloons.
Aww.
And let him off to kind of incite some reports. So
you
it's all
asshole.
just a big prank. Yeah. I don't know. I guess big question. Why would you do that? I don't know. And if you were going to do it, why not do it like on the date of or something?
Yeah.
Have a little fun with it. But that's what I had on the Phoenix Lights. I wanted to go through. I wanted to break down what happened there. Talk a little about the lore that surrounded it, the explanations. One of the most mysterious events in ufology, just the sheer magnitude of it. I mean, is just astonishing. And it's so much of a reason why it is just an enduring event in ufology. Enjoy yourself, Bailey.
I did. This is crazy. I had like I said, I had read a couple articles and kind of guessed that it was going to be like a mass hysteria type of story. But like the fact that there was so much more detail around it, because like you kind of said in the beginning, it focuses primarily on Phoenix and not really Tucson or Nevada. And like the fact that the first call actually came from Nevada instead of Phoenix. Like, first of all, it goes into that 300 miles, like how widespread this thing was seen. And then you surprise me with Daddy Russell. And, whenever you throw Kurt Russell into the mix, it's going to be a good time. This was insane. This had so many beebs and bobs that I was just not prepared for, but I loved every second of it.
Oh, good. Now, I did find like some conflicting reports. People talk about the lights kind of disappearing over Tucson, but I read some reports that actually went as far down as Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Disappearing over Sonora, Mexico.
Ooh.
So there was conflicting reports there where it actually ended.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy to think it could have crossed borders, into Mexico. That's wild to think. But so that was kind of a conflicting thing. Most reports says Tucson, but I did find some where it was Sonora, Mexico, is where it ended. So
would they
something interesting to look into.
Would they still be an illegal alien if they crossed all the borders?
Absolutely.
Are we gonna...
But yeah, that was File 043, Night of the Lights. You can look into the 2007 and 2008 incidents. There's not a whole lot there. They seem to be much smaller scale, less impactful. People kind of accept the F-16 flare explanation as far as 2007. And of course, 2008. I mean, a guy came forward. If you want to believe him, that's up to you. Maybe he was a scapegoat. You never know.
Which, first of all, if that is true, you're an asshole.
Yeah,
straight from me.
He didn't give his name. He turned himself into the newspaper. Like, not turned himself in. He wasn't getting held for any criminal action, but he did come forth the newspaper after people kind of started seeing it, and he refused to give his name. But he did, say that he incited it all with these helium balloons with flares on them. So, so he must have been embarrassed enough not to want to give his name,
or paid enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah,
scapegoat could have been. But yeah, there you guys have it. Now we are going to be kicking off our annual event.
Yes.
Next episode. It's summertime, baby.
Yes.
The warm weather is here. The pools are open. Day drinking on patios is a thing now.
Wonderful.
It's all here. The summertime, the best time of the year, in some people's opinion. Not mine. I don't like summer. Personally, I'm more of a fall guy. Fall, winter. I like the cold. But we are going to be making you question everything before you go back into the water. It's Summer at Sea 2. Bailey and I's annual event where we spend 6 whole episodes, 3 months.
Yeah.
We talk about sea-based conspiracy theories and tales of the unknown. And the first episode is dropping on June 11th, right here on Cult of Conspiracy. Bailey, you're handling episode File 044.
44. And it's going to be
Lost to the Depths.
It's going to be excellent.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
I'm excited.
That was an attempt.
Wow. Okay. That's fine. Not all of them can be winners. I'm excited. This one actually touches my missing 411 interest a little bit. So okay. I'm super excited for this one. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Good. It's gonna scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, we'll be setting sail June 11th, and we're spending 3 months at sea talking about all the weird shit that happens in the oceans. One of the most mysterious parts of the earth.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and ring that old cliche that people say: we know more about space than we know about the oceans.
Yep.
People like to say that. But it's true.
Yep.
People do like to say that.
It's 110% true. It's ridiculous how true it is. Like I said, I won't go in there, but if I'm rich enough, I'll fund somebody to go in there.
I think I've only been I've seen the ocean only one time. And I think maybe I stepped in it and that was it.
Oh, shut the front door. No.
Yeah, I think I maybe stepped in it, walked along the beach, but I don't think I've ever been. That was it. I remember I went down to Florida when Mike graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him went to Disney and shit to kind of celebrate him graduating. And we went to Clearwater, Florida, and I went to this bar on the beach. And there was people out jumping off the pier and stuff at night. It was nighttime.
Nope.
And people were out on the pier diving and playing in the water, out in the water, not on the beach, like
Nope.
out in the water, like
Nope.
fucking Jaws.
That's how.
I couldn't believe it because sharks are night predators. So it's like,
Nope.
the fuck you thinking?
You're thinking about
But-
sharks, and I'm over here like, that's how Cthulhu gets you. Like, just so we know where the mindsets are at. Absolutely not. No, I went on an Alaskan cruise, so I got to see like glaciers, and
Oh,
like
nice.
icebergs and everything. So like that was super cool. Yeah, we were not like at one point we like could not get out from like inside the boat because like it was so cold because of like all of the icebergs and shit that were around and everything.
wow.
So like it was like, I mean, you could go out, it just was not going to be comfortable because like you've got wind and it's freaking cold. And at that time, I think it was like early August. So it's like, oh no.
Jesus Christ. But there you have it, guys. Phoenix Lights. We're getting ready to board the boat and hit the sea for Summer at Sea 2. Super excited. We have a lot of things in store for that. We've got the episodes plotted out. We'll give them to you as they come. But there's going to be some really cool stuff we're talking about in this edition of Summer at Sea. And then we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary here in a couple months. So that's going to be interesting to finally, discuss and reflect on that. Big things coming for Cult Talk Net. We've talked about it many times. Make sure you guys follow at Cult Talk Net across the board. Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, all the things. Keep updated on what all we have coming across our various shows. Cult Talk Conspiracy, Bailey and I, we come out every other Tuesday. Cult of Campbell comes out on Monday. That focuses on Bruce Campbell and sometimes Kurt Russell. So they're found in the same spot. Those come out on Mondays whenever they're called upon.
Yep.
The Cult of Lore guys, Ben, Jerry, and Eric, they come out every first and third Thursday. Cult of Lore. Make sure you guys check out youtube.com/culttalknet for the full video experience. They work really hard on it. It's more than a podcast. There's a full video to it that helps you visualize all the craziness that takes place in the Warhammer universe, because that is some wild shit all the time. But yeah, check that stuff out. Keep an eye at Cult Talk Net. We have new shit coming out literally all the fucking time. Yeah, I don't want to scratch our own backs, but one of the hardest working podcast networks of all time.
It really is.
As small as we are, we put a lot of fucking content out. Cultober Plus, check that out. We put out bonus content on there on a monthly basis. You get the Cultober Classics every final Friday of the month, and plus some new little treats that get dropped. It's Cultober all year long, baby. So check out Cultober Plus on all your favorite podcast networks or podcast platforms. But I think that does it for us, Bailey. We talked about Phoenix Lights. Next episode coming out on June 11th. We're setting sail to talk about some mysterious drownings. So I'm sure that's going to spark a lot of people's trigger warnings there.
Mine.
Yeah. Have you ever had a drowning experience?
Yeah, when I was a kid. That's like why I won't go underwater, and like why I have such a aversion to caves. Like I will not do it. So like, short story, I was at a friend's pool and like super, super little. We were still living in Nevada at this time. I went in because my older sister, the bitch she is, was fake drowning. So me and my kind heart went to go save her, and then I started actually drowning. And then my dad came in and saved me. And like, I actually like coughed up water and everything. Like it was awful.
Jesus Christ.
It was terrible. So like ever since then, like I like, even like when Anna and I go to the pool, like I will get like to my neck and I'm like, I can't do it. I gotta go back. I can't. Nope. I'm done. So like I just can't do it. It's something about being completely submerged that I just cannot handle anymore.
I don't think I ever had like I know I've almost like kind of like had that feeling at one point in my life. I can remember pretty vividly, but me, I love being in the water. I want to be like in the water, lakes, creeks, that kind of stuff. I'm a country boy. I like being in that kind of water, like submerged.
No,
if I could sit at the bottom of a lake, I would do it. I love that feeling. Ocean, not really warmed up to that yet, but lakes and creeks, I love that shit. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had like a legitimate drowning where I've coughed up water, but I know I've had some close calls when I was younger. But yeah, but that does it for us, Bailey. I've been Ty.
I've been Bailey.
And until next time, question everything.